Hi guys, NCWQ here, and today is 11/9/2019, and we're looking at an article that came out, and this was Earthquake Impact Affected by Seasonal Factors, according to historical study. This comes from Seismological Society of America, and also through biz.org. And this article states the season that an earthquake occurs could affect the extent of ground failure and destruction that events bring. According to a new look at two historical earthquakes that occurred about 100 years ago near Almaty, Kazakhstan. In a paper published in Seismological Research Letters, researchers conclude that the June 1887 magnitude 7.3 Verny earthquake and the nearby January 1911 magnitude 7.8 Kinmen earthquake likely produced similar shaking. However, the 1911 earthquake caused significantly more ground failure, probably due to a shallow frozen ground layer that was present during the winter months. The frozen layer may have inhibited the drainage of pore pressure excess through the surface during the earthquake, causing liquefaction at depth. In effect, the frozen layer, extending about 1 meter below the surface, was a sealant layer that was not allowing the pore pressure to diffuse, explained Stefano Porole, a co-author of the paper at the Instituto Nacional de Oceanografia e di Geofisica Sperimental in Italy. The findings suggest seismologists should incorporate potential seasonal differences in soil characteristics as they are making probabilistic liquefaction or ground failure assessment, added co-author Denis Sandrin, also at the Instituto Nacional. The effect of frozen ground on ground deformation is already calculated for some types of infrastructure, such as oil pipelines in Alaska. But Porolai said Kazakhstan's study shows the importance of considering these effects in urban areas as well, especially when it can become a seasonal effect. The Verny, and Verny is the former name for Almaty, earthquake destroyed nearly all of the town's adobe buildings and killed 300 people in 1887. The Kinmen earthquake, which took place about 40 kilometers from Verny, caused a surprising amount of widespread ground failure and destruction and 390 deaths. So we're going to look where Almaty is. So it's Verny is here. So we're going to look and see where this is. Verny is here according to Google Maps. So this is Verny. Parolai and his colleagues reviewed historical records of the two earthquakes as part of a larger project studying side effects and seismic risks in Central Asia, led by GFZ, German Research Center for Geoscience. The two Almaty earthquakes, including their secondary effects such as landslides, were very well documented by expeditions in the mining department of Russia and Russian Mining Society at the time, Parolai said. The differences in ground failure between the two earthquakes were perplexing to the researchers. The fact that the two earthquakes had taken place at different times of year prompted Sandrin and his colleagues to consider whether frozen ground might have been a factor in ground failure, as previous researchers had noted for the 1964 magnitude 9.2 Great Alaska earthquake. To explore this idea, the research team created computer simulations of the earthquakes using different models of the soil profile that would affect the velocity of seismic waves passing through them. Along with temperature data, more than 100 years of temperature recordings exist for Almaty to determine whether it would be likely to have a frozen layer of ground at shallow depth during January. Let me fix this again. One of the other challenges, co-author Rami Eshambari, formerly of the International Center for Theoretical Physics in Italy and currently at University at Exeter in United Kingdom, was finding a way to include appropriate strong motion data recording in the simulations, since of course there were no digital records of these two earthquakes. We had to choose the most reasonable and robust studies for input of strong motion, finally settling on data taken from the 1999 magnitude 7.6 Chi-Chi earthquake in Taiwan, appropriately modified as being most similar to the Almaty earthquakes. Models that include a 1 meter deep frozen layer as a seal against pore pressure draining were the best fit for the ground failures seen in the Kinmen earthquake. They concluded, although the researchers suspected that a frozen layer could be the culprit, Paralyzed said they were surprised by the strength of the effect. The findings suggest that other seismologists should consider seasonality in their site effect studies, he noted, even in materials where we would not expect this effect due to local conditions and temperatures. It could happen. Without this good documentation, probably we would not have noticed this effect, said Paralai. This is telling us that good data taken in the past can be very precious in 100 years. Anyways, you guys, just thought I would share this article with y'all. I hope y'all are doing well wherever you are in the world, day or night. Much love.